I was having Yasha with Rico from StreetScores, and the Washington Commanders just worked out a super strong offensive tackle after our top two tackles have recently gotten hurt. Brandon Coleman versus the Panthers, and now Cornelius Lucas versus the Bears. We are searching for a Jayden Daniels bodyguard at left tackle. Is this left tackle that we worked out today the answer? But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for pulling up and supporting every video, leaving likes, pulling up to the stream during the Bears game. That was a magical moment. I appreciate sharing that moment with a lot of y'all that were there during the game. Then we had the call-in show immediately afterwards, and the way that y'all reacted through the phone line was beautiful as well, man. So I love being a part of this fan base. Let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. And I had to watch a couple of videos just to confirm that this is the correct way to pronounce it. Had to rehearse it a couple of times. The Washington Commanders, via Aaron Wilson's reporting through Twitter, are working out offensive lineman Yj Kajus today. Just to let you know, that was updated today. We'll see by tonight if we actually end up signing them or anything like this. But the point is, for this video, is to dive into whether this guy may be our answer at left tackle, at the very least for the small amount of time that we may be without Cornelius Lucas, probably longer term. We'll see how long that injury goes. And then Brandon Coleman, who was dealing with a concussion. He's been in concussion protocol since the Panthers game. Is this temporary relief right now from Trent Scott specifically, who came in for us during that Bears game and had to start a left tackle for us after having to play one play at right tackle as well. Andrew Wiley left the field, then he came right back. But then Trent Scott had to finish the game from like second or third quarter all the way to the end at left tackle, and it was not pretty. So right now, the Washington Commanders are searching for answers. I'm not surprised that we're working out tackles right now. But just to let you know, this is a guy from Florida. He went to college at West Virginia from 2014 to 2018. He was drafted in the 2019 draft in the third round, pick 101 overall. That's not bad. You can see that some teams felt like he has some serious talent to him. It's amazing. Already within 4 or 5 years, he's bouncing from practice squad to practice squad. Speaking of his history, he was on the New England Patriots. That's where he was drafted in 2019 all the way up to 2022. Then he was on the New York Jets practice squad for 2023, and then the New York Giants practice squad 2023, and the start of this season in early 2024. And this is a guy that only played in 7 games of 2021 and technically started 2 according to Pro Football Reference. He played in 10 games in 2022 and then only technically started 3 according to Pro Football Reference. So this is not a guy that has a lot of experience. Even though he was drafted all the way back in 2019, you could say that he's technically only played in 17 games total so far in his career, and Pro Football Reference feels like he technically only started in 5 of them. So this is not a guy with a lot of experience, but there's definitely some potential and talent here. Shouts out to my boy Resh Manuel, always providing the connections here. This is why we sought this guy out specifically, because Kajus spent time with Commanders offensive lines coach Bobby Johnson last year with the New York Giants, just to let you know. He also was on the Jets with offensive lines coach Keith Carter on Dan Quinn's Falcon staff. Also on the Patriots with assistant offensive lines coach Billy Yates, and he was with Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech, and with the Lions with Lance Newmark. And then also he pointed out the fact that having a Kajus and a St. Juice actually would be pretty cool if we can make it happen. Those are some deep connections right there, but by far the strongest connection that we have, the most recent one and the most relevant one, is the fact that he was on the New York Giants practice squad for the last year and some change. And remember, Bobby Johnson, our now offensive lines coach, was the Giants offensive lines coach last year when Kajus was there on their practice squad. So if anybody knows this guy in and out, weaknesses, strengths, what he can do, what he can't do, and things like that, it is Bobby Johnson. And it's just amazing looking back at how much we doubted or even questioned the Bobby Johnson hire, and now look how elite it looks right now. It looks like one of the biggest steals in all of the hiring process around the NFL. Remember, we were one of the last people to hire a head coach. If not, I think we were literally the last team to hire a head coach, which is just crazy that we put together arguably the best coaching staff in the NFL. First of all, just in one offseason, but also with everybody else having a head start to where we hired Dan Quinn last. I remember we went to the Senior Bowl and we were the only team without a head coach at the Senior Bowl for at least like the first day or two. So it's just, that's amazing in itself. I just feel like a lot of people forgot about that, how like historical of an offseason we had, even on top of the free agency class that we put together, insane. The draft class that we put together, insane. I'm probably going to do video breakdowns just to do like a checkup on where we are like 8-9 weeks into the season with the rookie class that we've had. So be on the lookout for something like that, because I can't wait. That seems like that would be a really fun video to do. But even outside of the free agency and draft decision making, the roster moves, the hires have been insane as well. And maybe Bobby Johnson knows what he's talking about with suggesting and probably advising that we bring Yjy Kajus in for a workout. But you got to remember, this guy was a once promising offensive tackle whose career has been derailed by injuries. That's been his biggest weakness right now. More so than his play on the field, it's been his availability. And of course, your best ability is your availability. It doesn't matter how well you can block if you're not on the field to be able to actually do it. Kajus, remember, was a third-round pick by the New England Patriots in the 2019 draft. He did not play, though, until 2021. He spent the 2019 season on the non-football injury list after a quad surgery, and he spent the 2020 season on the injured reserve due to a knee injury. And then over the 2021 and 2022 seasons, he played in 17 games at right tackle, technically starting 5. I want to emphasize the fact that we're talking right tackle here, not left tackle. But at the same time, he was a left tackle at West Virginia, but has played exclusively at right tackle in the NFL. So you would think theoretically maybe Kajus could be considered some type of like swing tackle, maybe like a Cornelius Lucas variant type of thing. Maybe he's built from the Cornelius Lucas factory, where he was a left tackle all throughout college, been a right tackle all in his entire NFL career, which has not been very long because, again, due to injuries, he hasn't played much. So maybe this is a guy with decent experience at both. But the most important thing is, I mean, swing tackle sounds nice. That's all cool and all, but that's secondary. Your priority is, can he play left tackle? Does he have any left tackle experience or any left tackle potential to him right now, specifically? Really the potential, because right now, the Commanders only have one offensive tackle on our practice squad, and that's Anam Dankwa. I bring that up because your starting left tackle and Brandon Coleman is in concussion protocol. Cornelius Lucas is injured. He just got hurt in the Bears game and never came back during that game, so I'm pretty sure that injury is at least significant enough to where we shouldn't expect him to be available against the Giants, but we'll see. And then Trent Scott is just straight up not startable. He had to finish that game against the Bears, but he's not very startable. I mean, even just, and I don't necessarily agree with Pro Football Focus, but they knew what they were talking about here, because he finished that game with a 34.7 overall grade against the Chicago Bears, and that was in 30 offensive snaps. So he played a decent amount. He played a good enough amount to where you could judge his play. He had a couple of penalties. He had a couple of missed blocks. I'm not surprised. I remember seeing Trent Scott in that joints practice against the Jets. He looked like our worst offensive lineman there. When we were doing like one-on-ones versus the Jets defensive lineman in that joints practice earlier, I think it was the Dolphins or the Jets. I believe it was the Jets. He was getting whooped on by any and everybody. Rookies, anybody. Was just, I mean, he was just a turnstile. So I wasn't surprised that, I mean, if y'all were there for the live stream, once I saw Trent Scott have to come into the game and finish the game for Cornelius Lucas, I was sick to my stomach. I was so worried about Jayden Daniels, especially with him dealing with a rib injury. And I feel like that played a large role into why we were so inept as an offense. Penalties, hurting ourselves once we got to the red zone, just like the Giants game, hurt us really bad. We also had wide receivers dropping passes. Jayden Daniels was elite, but he wasn't perfect. And then also Trent Scott probably limited the playbook that we could even access. Like Cliff Kingsbury probably was like, man, we can't even run some of these plays with having Trent Scott rather than Cornelius Lucas or Brandon Coleman. So he probably had to just ignore a whole third of the playbook because Trent Scott limited us in that way. So we definitely need tackle help bad right now. And I think Brandon Coleman should be ready to go after 2 weeks of dealing with a concussion and being in concussion protocol. So we'll see what happens there. But even with that as a best case scenario, say like Brandon Coleman is good to go after missing basically 2 weeks because he got hurt in the Panthers game. He had a week leading up to the Bears game. Then he's going to have a week after that to prepare for the Giants game. He would have had 2 weeks to get out of concussion protocol, which is likely to happen. That's how Austin Eckler got out of it. That's pretty much how much time he had to take to get through his concussion protocol as well. And I prefer for us to err on the side of caution every single time. Wait, Deontay Johnson is going to the Ravens? Y'all already have enough receivers. Y'all had one bad game with receivers dropping passes, and y'all gonna make the trade that I wanted us to make. I'm sick of them, man. Golly, I just saw that. But out of the way, back to my main point though. Brandon Coleman, even at his best, even if he does come off a concussion protocol, he's healthy 100% to go. Remember, this guy's yet to start an entire game yet. He's almost evenly split snaps with Cornelius Lucas all season, even though the past few weeks before he got hurt, he didn't play in the Bears game. But like the Panthers game, the Ravens game, and maybe even the Browns game before that, I think like Brandon Coleman was technically starting because he was out there for the first offensive series, but he and Cornelius Lucas still evenly almost split snaps. Like, say for example, if Brandon Coleman plays in like 30, Cornelius Lucas is playing at like 25. That's just an example of how close it's been. They've almost evenly split them down the middle. So I'm wondering, even as well as Brandon Coleman has played all season, we have yet to ever see him play left tackle full-time for an entire game yet. And then he's coming off a concussion protocol. So even best case scenario, say if Brandon Coleman is good to go versus the Giants, but Lucas is not, because I again, with the way that he never returned against the Bears, and we clearly needed him against the Bears. If he had a chance to return, they would have returned him. So I'm assuming this is going to at least keep him out against the Giants. Then does Brandon Coleman play his first full game of his NFL career, or do we let him split snaps with somebody else other than Cornelius Lucas? And please don't let it be Trent Scott. I already know he isn't the answer at this point. If we plan on letting Brandon Coleman split snaps, splitting tackle snaps with somebody else, I take my chances with somebody else, dog. I ain't gonna lie. Anybody else. Maybe even our boy Yjy Kajus, who we're talking about today. And now, I mean, granted, he wasn't able to fully complete like a relative athletic score because he wasn't able to actually do everything at the combine. I don't remember if it was due to injury maybe, or if he just never had the I don't know what happened if he elected not to do. I'm assuming it was injury though. But either way, all we have are his height, his weight, and his bench press. Well, his height, he's pretty short, considered, tackle wise at 6'4" and almost 6'5", but they consider that pretty short. So that was a red on the relative athletic score. Then his weight was 312 pounds. That's considered somewhere around average, so that was like 6.21. That was yellow on the relative athletic score. But then his bench press was 32, which was considered elite. So this is a very strong guy. You do not have to worry about strength, power, or anything like that. The concern here is he mobile enough? Most importantly, can he stay healthy? Right now we have a tackle injury problem, and we're working out a guy that can't stay healthy himself right now. But when we're talking about potential, when we're talking about ceiling, we're talking about a very strong tackle. He may already be one of the strongest offensive linemen we have even though we technically haven't signed him yet. But if we do sign him, he probably would already be immediately one of our strongest tackles on the entire team. 32 on the bench press is insane stuff, literally elite. He was one of the best at the combine, that 2019 draft class that he came out with. So this is a guy, there's something to work with there. Again, we didn't get any other measurements or any other testing from the combine, and when you look at the tape, like the little bit I could find, the little bit that I could watch on him, I mean, he seems like he's mobile enough, but I gotta see what he can do. And if we work him out, if we decide to sign him by tonight, and then we'll see how he looks in practice. I doubt he'll be able to play as soon as going against the Giants, but maybe we found something here. And just in case though, I looked up which left tackles are available in free agency right now, because we may not necessarily be able to depend on Yjy Kajus. I like his potential, I like his ceiling, but we may not be able to depend on him immediately for the Giants game. Maybe this is a project that we can work on, and maybe he'll be good later on down the line as like a backup swing tackle or something like that if Cornelius Lucas were to get hurt again, or even a guy this is good enough to split starting left tackle snaps with Brandon Coleman. He's not that today at all. I'm not even trying to clickbait y'all and act like he is, but maybe there's some potential there. But again, I went ahead and looked up left tackles that are available in free agency right now. Veterans that have shown us on the field with tape, with evidence, with proof that these guys can start a left tackle for us if we really need them to. And I specifically looked at career left tackles, not just tackles in general, because a right tackle would not help us right now. We have a franchise quarterback to protect. I like Andrew Wiley at right tackle, maybe more so than a lot of our fan base, but I do not want him at left tackle. I hate him at left tackle. So we need a left tackle specifically in free agency. Do not take this situation lightly. Again, we have a franchise quarterback to protect right now. Approach this with the utmost diligence, please, Washington Commanders. But when in doubt, I always trust this coaching staff and this front office to make the right decisions, because even the random small times that we've had any sort of doubt in the decisions they've made since we've hired Adam Peters as our general manager back in February, it always comes back to prove right. Every decision, every step of the way, they've been right. Even when us fans question the move or even dare doubt it, they've been right. So I'm just, hey, when in doubt, Adam Peters and y'all have the benefit of the doubt with whatever y'all do. But as a fan right now, I'm scared for Jayden Daniels, so we got to take a look at this free agency. And first of all, of course, David Bakhtiari is the first guy we're going to bring up. I mean, a multi-Pro Bowler, multi-All-Pro, one of the best left tackles in the NFL at one point. He's been riddled with injuries lately, but back in 2022, when he did play the majority of a season, he still had a 79.8 overall grade. And even last year, even though he technically only played 55 offensive snaps, which is only like a couple of games worth, he still had a 78.3 Pro Football Focus grade and an 89.9 pass blocking grade, making him one of the best left tackles last year. This is not a long time ago. We're not saying, oh, when he was in his prime, he was pretty good. No, just as recently as last year, he was still one of the best pass blocking tackles in the NFL. But of course, he got hurt. But then there is the argument, though, that this time around, I saw a report earlier this offseason. I think it was sometime like August or something like that, while we were in training camp preseason or something like that. It was some report that came out like this is the healthiest he's actually ever been going into a season. Typically, he hasn't been fully healthy. He's just been trying to go out there because he knew that the Packers needed him. And so even though he wasn't 100%, he would still go out there and do his best. Now the Packers have abandoned him, and then it's at the craziest time because now he feels like this is the healthiest he's ever been going into an NFL season. But there must be some reason that no team is calling him right now, because I'm pretty sure a lot of teams could use an all-pro left tackle right now, especially us. So maybe, even though he said, or his agent, whoever reported it, said he was healthy, maybe the medicals came back from other teams and they disagreed. I don't know. But again, just last year he had a 78.3 overall grade, and if he played just at that level this year and were able to step in and stay healthy for us, at least for as long as we needed him, he would be the 13th best tackle in the entire NFL right now, and that's a down year for him. Don't forget that in 2020 he was a 91.8. I believe that was the best left tackle grade in the entire NFL. In 2018 he was at 88.9. 2017 he was at 87.7. 2016 he was at 86.4. He's consistently been one of the top at least 10 best tackles in the entire NFL whenever he's been able to play and been able to stay healthy for the majority of a season. But that's the big problem there. Again, just like Yj Kajus, we're bringing him in for a workout to solve our problem with having injured tackles. He's injury prone. David Bakhtiari is also injury prone. So I guess we would just be like, well, we got like 5 injury prone tackles. Hopefully somebody will be available to play against the Giants. Maybe that's the logic there. You also have DJ Humphries, who's been pretty solid, you know, at times. Like in 2020 when he had his best season, he had an 88.3 overall grade, and it's pretty much been downhill from there. I mean, but even last year in 2023 he had a 62.5 grade, which isn't terrible. I'd take that over Trent Scott and maybe even Yj Kajus right now, because again, he's very unproven and also injury prone. So DJ Humphries may be on an extremely cheap contract. Maybe we could decide to go with that. And he also stayed fairly healthy last year, so this is a guy that we don't necessarily have to worry about injuries right now. Or how about Dwayne Brown? But he is 39 years old right now, but when he was in his prime, he was pretty good. I mean, we're talking about grades consistently 80 something and above from Pro Football Focus, but the last 2 times we saw him, when he was 37 years old, a 57.8 grade, and 38 years old, a 47.9 grade. And again, now he's 39 years old, so I'm expecting that he's still probably just going down and down and down, declining, because literally 2020 87.3 grade, his best grade of his entire career. Oh no, second best grade of his entire career, and then it just slowly descends from there. 2021 71.5, 2022 57.8, and then 2023 47.9. Father Time caught up to him, but still maybe better than Trent Scott. Donovan Smith as well. This is a guy that never really had the same peak as a Dwayne Brown or a David Bakhtiari, or not even necessarily a DJ Humphries. Donovan Smith has had some pretty good seasons. Back in 2021, he had an 83.3 grade, but outside of that, he's been, I guess you could say, average at best around. But maybe that's a guy that we could consider, because Is he worse than Trent Scott? I'm not necessarily sure. This whole thing is based on is there anybody in free agency right now that we can sign that can at least be better than Trent Scott? I think there are options out there, but it completely depends on the price. We're not giving any of these guys big money because Brandon Coleman is our starting left tackle of the future, but are we ready to start him full time, especially with him coming off a concussion protocol? So we literally may only need a 1-game rental. So if either of these guys that I just named are willing to come in and sign for like a very cheap contract just to sit around just in case if we need them, then let's do it. Of course, you also have Charles Leno, but remember he had surgery this offseason, so no thanks on that one. But technically he is a free agent left tackle that's available right now. And like I mentioned earlier, we have Anim Dankwa, who's already on the practice squad, so maybe he's an answer. Maybe it's his time to step up. He has a ridiculous ceiling. Like when we're talking about Yjy Kajus, who we're talking about in this video, that's who the video was basically centered around. He has some potential to him. He has some ceiling to him, but not the ceiling of an Anim Dankwa. Remember, he's the athletic freak that I broke down in a video a couple of weeks ago. Very high ceiling guy. Maybe he's been developing behind the scenes the last 2 weeks. We'll see. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. I really appreciate you. If you made it this far in the video, you are really appreciated. Make sure you do not leave this video out leaving a like. I'd really appreciate that as well. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about this entire tackle situation. How do you feel about the prospect of Yjy Kajus? How do you feel about Trent Scott? How do you feel about Anim Dankwa, who's on the practice squad? How do you feel about the free agent options that I listed, like David Bakhtiari and DJ Humphries and Dwayne Brown and all of these guys, Donovan Smith? Of course, we're just going to ignore Charles Leno. But let me know how you feel about this left tackle situation. Do you feel like this Commanders team should be panicking as much as I am about protecting our franchise quarterback? Or do you think like if you feel like it will just handle itself and Brandon Coleman should be good to go coming off a concussion protocol from the Panthers game last week? Let me know how you feel about this entire situation. I really appreciate y'all again. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. Catch y'all later. I'm out.